So after last week's pretty amazing episode, all things considered, my anticipation for this one week by week went up about tenfold, no joke, and walking into this episode, pretty high expectations. I would say the first half of the episode didn't do too much to wow me, but by the end of the second half there, I was once again just saying, honestly, this show is probably the biggest surprise of the season for me. I mean, I really thought at best it would be a so bad it's a good show, but I'm actually enjoying the writing and the character interactions and honestly the web that they're building, because typically when you have the obvious pairing that the author is trying to make connect, which would be Erika and as well as Nagi, but then of course, they're both saying they don't want to be with each other. He has this crush that he's trying to beat because she's super competitive. He loves the fact that she's competitive. But then obviously over the course of it, there'd be some confusion because what if she then returns that feelings, but then he's already developed feelings for his fiance that he doesn't want to be engaged with. It's a premise that can work, but it can also feel pretty generic. And you can look at a lot of the situations in this episode. There's cliches galore left and right, but the fact that we have a character who isn't so oblivious to the things that are happening around him, the cliches don't feel like a distraction. They just seem like they're there. Sometimes they're funny, sometimes they do nothing for me. But nothing really about the show, to me, makes it feel like, oh, something subtracting from my enjoyment, which is a really big praise, I have to say. I mean, the idea of walking into someone who's half naked and then, the embarrassment, usually it's a slap to the face or, he just curls up in a corner, can't do anything. But no, he's like, you were screaming. Of course I'm going to barge in. And she's not so thick-skulled that she's like, why would you barge in? There's the natural reaction, of course, but she's not like, oh, he's a peeping Tom. No, I did scream, that's bad on me. But then they also just make it funny because he's more shocked and scared of the little lizard that's gecko that's kind of roaming around that she takes care of it for herself. I love the fact that this show can play around with those pretty classic tropes and cliches, but not have it feel distracting. And the biggest thing that sold a lot of people who were skeptical, even myself included, was the fact that Nagi's not a hateable main character. He's someone who just feels like a guy with a dream, and he likes a girl, pretty common thought throughout school, throughout life, and the fact that he's studying so hard to beat someone who's always number one, the school worships, puts on a pedestal, he gets put down upon so many times because he's poor, he is second place, he's never going to beat their goddess, and the fact that he openly challenges in the middle of the schoolyard there, of course, there's going to be a lot of rumors spread and people talking shit, making bets. But nothing about it feels like he's the super loser main character because of these generic reasons. You can kind of see how things get piled on him, even though it's unfair and cruel. It also just makes it feel a lot more easy to say, you hope he succeeds. I actually do and usually I wouldn't compliment something like this, but I have to say I like the kind of a bit of a lie that was established between these two potential future lovebirds, because she asks, why are you studying so hard? And he says, well, I want my folks to have a better place to live. I don't think that's a lie. I do think that's a genuine goal of his because, they obviously, they don't have the most money out there. And he probably would, if he did get massively successful, help them out for raising, especially given the fact that, I'm not even their biological kid. But the goal we know is that he wants to beat the girl that he likes, and apparently she only likes people that are smarter than him. But I like the establishing kind of misunderstanding there because she doesn't know the full picture. She doesn't know about this crush that he has. And if she did, I think there would be a lot more dimming down on her very clear embarrassment / flustered / honestly kind of growing to like the guy. Because if he would have just straight out said, there's this girl hero, I really like her, she only likes people who are smarter than her, so I'm trying to be not second place but first place. Right away, we would probably have 6 episodes from now until she might start showing affection again. But the idea that, he said something so sweet, even though it's built on this misunderstanding, I think it lets her establish her own feelings sooner rather than later. And then in return, you can then, she starts pushing some moves on him, not necessarily kissing or hugging, but just more kind things like the fact that she was trying to play doctor, and then the fact that she was supposed to go meet up with her dad, heard a thump, and then immediately took care of him. Stuff like that's going to make him develop his own feelings, which then would put an interesting wrench on the, does he really like this girl because she's all this amazing things, or was it just that it was a pretty girl who everyone wants when there's a different pretty girl who you've already established a relationship with? I think it's a much more interesting concept going that way. And usually I wouldn't like it, but I have to commend the author for actually turning something that usually would be infuriating and it's something I'm actually glad is incorporated into this product. And I think there's a lot of like simple moments in the first half that I think do go a long way to establish the type of connection they are going to have. I love the fact that she, for being so enthralled with social media, you know, for her it's like, oh, the lighting and where she needs to go. Never even really crossed her mind that, you know, the photographer can make a world of difference. Even though the fact that he just squirted her with the hose and then she obviously was embarrassed and mad at first. I thought it was just him just trying to get out of it, but the fact that he actually took a great photo in the process, it's just nice to see those little moments. I think the little moments are often forgotten. So that's why, even though the first half of this episode wasn't my favorite part of the anime, I do think it's needed to kind of establish that connection, especially if they're going to be staying together for 2 weeks minimum, right? And I love the fact that just everything is building into such a nice way that I actually don't feel like the extra romantic tensions are a distraction right now. I think clearly Hiro's going to have some emotional reason for being so competitive. I don't like super competitive people myself, but I think, you know what, this man, he has his own preferences, he loves the competitive nature. Obviously, it's going to be something we got a little taste with who seemed to be her parents saying you don't need to work so hard and her storming off, but it'll be interesting to see where that builds. I think my favorite part of Hiro being a part of this dynamic isn't necessarily because of her personality or liking her just yet. I imagine I probably will eventually the more I get to know her, but it's just what it does for the potential relationship between Nagi as well as Erika and just where that can go with drama and also progressing their own romance, right, if they ever decide to go there. But it's interesting, right? I mean, this show has really proved me wrong, and I'm glad. I mean, I always hope to be proven wrong with anime that I think aren't going to be that good, because the more good shows we have, the more entertained you're going to be throughout the week. This one's really impressed me. I'm liking the animation style, I like the goofy faces, I love the voice actors, and how Nagi's just, he's not overreactive, and he's not super cold and with no emotions, so even when he has those dramatic and over-exaggerated faces, he just feels like an average guy. And I think that what makes him easy to watch for 20 minutes throughout the week, right? I mean, like any story that is based on like a kind of harem-like formula, potential romance plot lines, eventually, yeah, you know, if it lasts longer than it should, eventually things start to get stretched out. But for a 24-episode run, I don't feel like I'm gonna have that issue. Like, for me personally, the type of story that they're building up right now, for me anyway, based on previous anime, previous manga that I've read, I feel like 24 plus is when I might start feeling like the author is, you know, they kind of ran out of ideas. So for me, I don't think I'm going to have the same issue that I have seen some manga readers point out that eventually it does lose their interest. I think the 2 cores we are getting is going to just have good content, fresh ideas, but obviously only time will tell. But thoughts if you have any. What do you think of this? Are you going to keep on watching? And I know some people like to do the 3-episode rule, so you're going to keep on watching this one? Let me know down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you're new around here. Till next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.